Revealed, the incredible truth that will change the billionaire's life. His wife is still alive. Jack Thompson, once the shining example of the American dream, sat slumped in the plush leather chair of his office. The relentless sound of the city outside felt miles away as he stared blankly at the glossy photos from the gala counting down. He had everything, a sprawling mansion filled with treasures, a bank account with more zeros than he could count, and yet none of it filled the cavernous void in his heart. It had been over a decade since Emily's laughter echoed through their home, a sound now haunted by silence. The memories of her vibrant spirit weighed heavily. "Jack, are you ready?" His assistant interrupted, breaking his spiral into grief and guilt. His gaze caught on the framed pictures scattered across his desk, joyful moments frozen in time. Fractured images of the life they planned together. Just then, the doorbell rang. He opened the door to find a weathered envelope nestled in the mail, a letter, and something about its familiar cursive made his heart stall. It was Emily's handwriting. He tore it open, fingers trembling. The words swirled, proclaiming that she was still alive, a victim of circumstances beyond her control. The world around him collapsed in that instant. Breath turned heavy, his heart raced like a runaway train. Could it be true? Suddenly, footprints echoed in his mind, barefoot children running through the house, the vibrant life he had spent years burying under the weight of success and guilt. Jack felt a sob rise in his throat as the image of Emily, how she'd smile up at him, danced before his eyes. Every gala, every negotiation had left him more empty. Had he really been living without her spirit? The charity gala he planned felt like a farce now, a stage set for a man pretending to be okay while everything he truly valued lay buried beneath golden trophies and accolades. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Tears prickled at the corners of his eyes. Was it time to chase shadows, or should he carry on with this masquerade? The memories tugged at him to revisit the places where laughter once lived. Maybe Maplewood could still hold some healing for him. He stepped into the world he had left behind, each block a reminder of happiness, shared old friends, familiar bars, and the little diner where they used to laugh over milkshakes. Now, the air crackled with unspoken judgments. Whispers traveled like wildfire. Once admirers now looked on with resentment that it was in that diner, amidst glances filled with pity and a sprinkle of disdain, that Jack first heard the murmurs of Emily's potential survival. Each word cracked open his heart a little more, leaving him raw and teetering on a precipice of emotions. Could he face the woman he had mourned and yet unintentionally turned his back on? The weight of his choices hung heavily in the air. As he pondered this new thread of hope, the possibility of reunion collided with guilt like a thunderstorm brewing inside him. Just as he began to forge connections with his past, an unexpected ally approached, a friend bearing evidence of Emily's existence. This revelation could unravel everything. Jack's heart raced. Would the truth bring redemption or tear apart the life he had built? As he drew closer to the heart of this mystery, he stood on the edge of reawakening lost love or burying the past deeper than ever before. In a moment that could change everything, his life shattered, daring him to decide who he truly wanted to be. Jack stepped outside the diner, the evening air heavy with possibility yet thick with doubt. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat a reminder of both the love he had lost and the hope that flickered anew. The streets were a blur of headlights and shadows, but all he could focus on was the urgency of action. He couldn't let this slip away. Emily was alive, and somewhere in the chaos of life, their story still had a chance to unfold. That he needed answers. Finding her was no longer a matter of choice, it had become an obsession. As he drove home, memories of late-night talks and shared dreams flooded his mind. He recalled how they used to plan their future together, sketching their lives with a myriad of adventures. Where had those dreams gone? Was it too late to breathe life back into them? His thoughts were interrupted as he pulled into the drive of his mansion. The grandeur that once filled him with pride now felt suffocating. Inside, he paced the marble floors, aware of every empty room echoing the absence of laughter, the absence of her. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. It was a text from his old friend Jake, the one who hinted at Emily's survival. "Meet me at the Cove," it read. "I found something." The Cove was a quiet bar by the river, a place they had frequented during happier times. The feeling of nostalgia washed over him, but this time it felt sharper, laced with an urgency to reclaim what was his. He threw on a jacket and headed out, the wind carrying a hint of possibility. Jack arrived and found Jake sitting at a corner table, his expression uncharacteristically grave. "Hey, man," Jake said, his voice low. "I'm glad you came. What do you have?" "Tell me," Jack urged, feeling a mixture of anticipation and dread coursing through him. Jake hesitated, looking around as if ensuring they were not overheard. "I spoke with someone who claims to know Emily. They said she was spotted overseas, in a place called Crestview. She is safe, Jack, but you need to understand, it's complicated." "Complicated? What do you mean?" Jack's voice hardened, desperation creeping in. "I don't care about complications. I just want to see her." Jake leaned closer. "She is in protective custody. There are people after her. You can't just approach her blindly." The news hit Jack like a punch to the gut. Emily was not just out of reach, she was in danger. His mind raced through all the things he wished he could say to her, how he could fix the shattered pieces of their lives. But now, it wasn't just about love, it was about survival. "What do we need to do?" he demanded, determination flooding his veins. "We'll figure this out. I can't lose her again." Jake looked pained, weighing his words carefully. "We have to contact the authorities that are safeguarding her. They can help you get through, but you need to be prepared. Prepared for what?" Jack interrupted, as darkness loomed in the corners of his mind. "Prepared to lose her? No. I won't let that happen." Anguish and resolve battled in his chest. Every moment spent apart had been an eternity, but now a ticking clock shadowed their potential reunion. "Jack, if you go in unprepared, you might lose her for good," Jake warned, but Jack was already lost in thought. Could he unravel the truth without breaking it all apart? The stakes were higher than ever, threading between love and danger. Could he summon the courage to act, to protect her at all costs? As the weight of the moment settled around him, Jack reached for his phone, his fingers trembling. He was ready to take the plunge, but could he navigate the perilous waters before him? In that charged silence, as hope flickered against fear, one question hung in the air like a storm cloud: would he be able to save Emily before it was too late? Jack stared at his phone, anxiety gnawing at him. The world around him faded as he focused solely on the weight of his decision. Every second stretched, reminding him of the moments he had lost. He took a deep breath and dialed the number Jake had given him. The phone rang, echoing in the quiet of the Cove. Each ring sent a jolt through his heart. What if they said no? What if they told him it was too dangerous? "Hello?" A calm voice finally answered. Jack could barely process the words, all he heard was the thrum of his heartbeat. "Hi, this is Jack. I need information about Emily Anderson. I was told she is in protective custody." His voice trembled, and he cursed himself silently for showing weakness. "Mr. Hargrove, we've been expecting your call," the voice replied. "We understand your concern, but I must inform you that approaching her directly is ill-advised. The situation is delicate." Delicate. The word felt like a weighty stone dropping into a pond, sending ripples of worry skimming across his chest. "Please," Jack urged, desperation pouring from his core. "I can't just sit here. I need to know she is safe. What can I do?" "Follow our instructions, and we may allow you to see her soon. But you must understand, there are serious risks involved." Jack clenched his jaw, unwilling to back down. "I'm ready for anything. I won't let her down again." Determination solidified inside him like concrete. The conversation ended with a few vague agreements, and he switched off his phone, feeling a mixture of dread and a flicker of hope. Jake watched him from across the table, eyebrows raised with apprehension. "What did they say?" he asked, leaning forward. "They're going to help, but it's going to be complicated." Jack's voice was steady, but inside he felt a storm brewing. "She's in danger, Jake. We need to be careful." Jake sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Just remember, clarity is key. They might not tell you everything. You can't go in blind." Jack nodded, absorbing the gravity of their next steps. He had spent so long in a fog of regret and loss, and now he was navigating uncharted waters. Time was slipping away, and the thought of Emily being threatened fueled his resolve. As they left the cove, the night air was electric. Jack felt alive in ways he hadn't seen in years. There was a purpose now. Whatever it took, he would bring Emily back. With dawn's first light, Jack gathered his things, ready for a confrontation, ready for the fight of his life. A part of him held back, fearful of what truths might come to light, but another part was already breaking free. "Are you ready for this?" Jake asked as they reached the car. Jack paused, taking in the enormity of what lay ahead. "I have to be," he replied, a weight pressing on his chest. As they drove through the awakening city, memories of Emily came rushing back. Her laughter, the warmth of her touch, the softness of her smile, it coursed through him like a lifeline. He knew she wasn't gone. Just hidden from him, cloaked in shadows and danger. "Tell me everything you know about Crestview," he instructed Jake, resolve hardening within him. "I know it's a small town, but hidden secrets run deep there. To find her, we'll need more than just luck." Jack nodded, every pulse of his heart reminding him of the urgency. "Then let us go deeper. We'll find everything." With that, the city outside faded, and thoughts spiraled around what they might discover. Would the truth they uncovered be a light illuminating their path, or a specter haunting them? As they drove onward, the landscape shifted, unease creeping in, shadows gathering ahead. Did they have the strength to confront whatever awaited them in Crestview? The question lingered in the air, pregnant with uncertainty. Would they find Emily, or would their quest lead to darker revelations than they ever imagined? The sun was just a sliver on the horizon when they crossed the town line into Crestview. Jack felt the weight of its silence settle over them like an old quilt that hadn't seen use in years. The streets were lined with quaint houses, neat lawns, and the distant sound of a dog barking, an idyllic facade that slammed into him with a mix of hope and dread. "Stay focused," Jake said, breaking the silence. "We stick to our plan. No detours." Jack nodded, though his mind was racing. What if someone recognized him? What if they were being watched? He gripped the steering wheel, knuckles pale. Each breath tasted like tension, thick and heavy. In the small space of the car, they parked outside a coffee shop, its windows warm with light. Jack took a moment to gather his thoughts, taking in the slice of normalcy around him. A couple laughed, a child scurried past, and an older man waved cheerfully to a neighbor. Jack felt a pang of loneliness. They moved through life unaware of the chaos lurking just below the surface. "Let us talk to some locals. Someone has to know something," Jake said, breaking into Jack's swirling thoughts. They stepped inside, the rich scent of coffee wrapping around them like a comforting blanket. Jack scanned the room, searching faces for any hint of recognition. Anxiety swept through him when he locked eyes with a woman sitting alone in the corner, her gaze lingering on him too long. Was she one of them? His heart raced as he looked away, focusing on the barista instead. "2 black coffees, please," Jake ordered, his tone calm as if there was nothing unusual about their situation. Jack admired Jake's composure, the way he radiated confidence even in the chaos of their mission. As they waited, Jack's pulse quickened. What if someone overheard them? The woman was still watching, her brow furrowed in contemplation. Jack felt a shiver run down his spine. "Here you go," the barista chirped, setting down 2 steaming cups. Jack grabbed one, needing something to hold on to. "Let us find a place to talk," he said, moving toward a small table in the corner, away from prying ears. "Okay," Jake agreed, joining him. "What's the plan?" "We need to blend in. Ask questions that seem casual, like we're just out of town." Jack's mind raced through various scenarios, each one more precarious than the last. "But we have to be careful. I can't risk being linked to Emily." Jake nodded, scanning the cafe while sipping his coffee. "Try that table over there," he suggested, pointing to a pair of older men deep in conversation. "They look like they know everyone." Jack took a deep breath, nerves tightening his stomach like a vine. "Right. Here goes nothing." As he approached, he could feel his heart drumming in his ears. "Excuse me, gentlemen," he started, forcing a casual smile. "We're passing through and just curious about the area. Is it always this quiet?" One of the men looked up, his eyes narrowing thoughtfully. "Depends on who you ask," he replied, his tone measured. "It can get lively when the summer festival rolls around." Jack leaned against the edge of the table, the words flowing out faster than they should. "We've heard whispers about some local stories, maybe even something about a woman who before he could finish, the other man interrupted. "You new here? Crestview's got secrets. Best to leave some stones unturned." Their cautious eyes made Jack's skin prickle. Did they know something? Jack felt the urge to push, to pry, but the earlier conversation rang in his ears. "Be careful," Jake stepped in, nodding in agreement. "We don't mean to intrude. Just trying to get a feel for the place." "Don't worry," the first man said, a light grin breaking through. "You're safe around here unless you misstep. Just be mindful." Jack's heart dropped at the implication. They had to tread lightly. Every inch felt like being on a tightrope above a pit of uncertainty. As they left the cafe, Jack glanced back, unease gnawing at him. The clock was ticking. Could they find the answers before it was too late? This was no longer simply a search for Emily, it was spiraling into something far more dangerous. Just then, his phone buzzed in his pocket. The message was brief, yet the word sent a jolt of electricity through him. "Meet me at the old mill. I have intel on Emily." Jack shared a look with Jake, both fear and determination igniting as they embarked toward the next step. What new dangers awaited them at the mill? Would they finally uncover the truth, or be drawn deeper into a web of peril? The air grew cooler as Jack and Jake approached the old mill. The structure loomed ahead, worn and weathered, draped in shadows that whispered secrets of the past. Jack could almost feel the pulse of the town echoing through the dilapidated walls. He hesitated, staring at the entrance, where a flickering light broke the darkness. "Are we sure about this?" Jack asked, swallowing hard. Every fiber of his being screamed to turn back. But he couldn't. Not now. Not when Emily had vanished without a trace. "Trust me, Jack," Jake replied, his voice steady. "We need this information. No turning back." They stepped inside, the wooden floor creaking beneath their feet. Dust motes danced in the slanting beams of light, creating a sense of eerie tranquility. Jack could hear the soft rustle of mice skittering in the shadows, a far cry from the chaos swirling in his mind. "Hello." Jake called out, his voice reverberating through the hollow mill. There was no response, just the sound of their own breaths mingling with the silence, but then, a figure emerged from the gloom, a man they didn't recognize, cloaked in a heavy coat that seemed to absorb the light around him. "You made it," he said, his voice gravelly yet oddly soothing. "I was beginning to think you wouldn't come. Do you have intel on Emily?" Jack demanded, urgency thrumming in his veins. The man nodded slowly, glancing around as if expecting someone to leap out of the shadows. "I've been watching," he said. "There are things in this town, things you need to know, but you have to be cautious. People aren't what they seem." Jack exchanged a wary look with Jake. This felt like a trap, but they were too far in to back out now. Just tell us what you know, he pressed, his tone sharper than he intended. The man hesitated, eyes narrowing as he studied Jack. You're tied to her, aren't you? The woman everyone's looking for. Jack's heart raced. No. I mean, not in that way. I just want to find her. Can you help us or not? Taking a breath, the man stepped closer, lowering his voice. Emily isn't just missing. She's in the heart of something complicated, something dangerous. The people you met in a cafe, they're connected. They've buried truths under layers of lies. Lies? Jake echoed, puzzled. What kind of lies? There are factions in Crestview, the stranger explained. Some want her back for their own reasons, and others. He took a breath, almost as if he was regretting the words that would come next. Others wouldn't want you to find her at all. Jack's heart sank. So many layers of deception swirled around him. With each passing second, the stakes grew higher. What do we do? First, you need to find out who wants to help and who wants to harm, the man said urgently. And be careful who you trust. Not everyone in town is as friendly as they seem. Meet me again after you dig a bit. I can guide you through the maze. Before Jack could respond, there was a noise outside, a car engine, revving loudly, drawing closer. The man's eyes widened in alarm. You need to go. Now. They've found you. Tension coiled tight in Jack's chest as he and Jake shuffled backward. The weight of fear propelled them forward, out of the dark confines of the mill. What do we do about the mill? Jack asked, urgency coloring his voice. Forget it for now. Focus on finding Emily. She's not just lost, she's the key, the man whispered as they fled. As they hurried to their car, Jack felt the pressure building around him. The stakes were no longer just about finding Emily, they were about unraveling a twisted web of danger that had swallowed Crestview whole. Once in the car, Jack glanced back at the mill. What now? He asked Jake, heart racing. Jake's eyes sparkled with determination. Now we figure out who's lying and who's telling the truth. But as they drove away, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were being hunted. Were they moving toward a rescue, or were they stepping deeper into a trap? A sudden noise echoed from the back seat, a soft, distinct shuffle. Jack turned around. His stomach dropped as he realized they weren't alone. Who or what was hiding back there? Jack whipped his head around, heart pounding like a drum in his chest. The dim light of the car illuminated shadows that obscured whatever lurked in the back seat. Jake! He gasped, his voice barely a whisper. There's someone back there. Before Jake could even react, a figure shifted further into the corner. As Jack squinted, he could make out a face pale and wide-eyed, a mix of fear and relief. It was a young woman, disheveled and shaken, but alive. Emily. He breathed, hesitating, unsure if this was yet another trap. No, please, she whimpered, clutching her hands around her knees. Don't scream. I'm not a threat. She looked at them both with desperate eyes. I just need your help. Jack's heart surged with hope but was immediately tangled in confusion. How did you get in here? Where have you been? Listen. She urged, her voice shaky but insistent. I was trying to find you. I overheard things. She blinked away tears, her expression shifting from fear to determination. You can't trust anyone in this town. They're watching us. We know, Jake said cautiously, glancing back at the road. What did you overhear? Emily took a deep breath, clearly struggling to compose herself. They want to use me as leverage. I don't know what for, but I've seen meetings, people discussing plans. They think I'm a liability. Jack's mind raced. They had to get out of Crestview, far away from those who wished Emily harm. Yet, the thought of fleeing without a plan gnawed at him. What do you mean by leverage? Who are they? I don't know all the details, Emily confessed. But I heard them mention something about a big operation within the town, something that's linked to my family. Her voice broke, and she turned away, ashamed. I thought I could escape, but they know who I am. Your family? What are you talking about? Jack pressed, desperation rising. My father, she whispered. He was involved in something shady before he died. I thought it was all a fairy tale, a dark chapter in our family's legacy. But they want revenge. Revenge on you? Jake clarified, steering the car around a corner, his focus split between the road and the conversation. Emily nodded, and for a moment, she looked small and trapped, just like the rest of them. They believe I know where some hidden documents are. Secrets that could expose everything. Jack felt a familiar pain in his chest, the helplessness that had clawed at him since Emily first vanished. She was not just a victim, she was a target. Still, a part of him hesitated. What if this was just another layer to the deception they had already unearthed? Emily, we need to figure out who we can trust, Jack said firmly but gently. What else do you remember? Before she could answer, the headlights of another car appeared behind them, closing in fast. Panic surged through Jack. They're after us. Hit the gas, Jake. Emily shouted, looking back with wild eyes. Hold on. Jake replied, slamming his foot down on the accelerator. The car lurched forward, speed kicking as they took off. The other vehicle stayed right on their heels, headlights blinding them in the rearview mirror. Jack's heart raced, fear curling around his insides, but there was something else sparked inside him, too, determination. Stay low. He yelled, trying to keep Emily calm. We'll find a way out of this. As they zipped through the streets of Crestview, Jack realized that the mill had been just the beginning. What they were driving into was a storm far larger than any of them had anticipated. The truth was just starting to unravel, and Jack gripped the steering wheel tighter. If they were going to survive, they had to confront their deepest fears. Where do we go now? Jake urged, his voice strained under the tension. Jack's mind raced. We get to the old train tracks. It could lead us out of town and away from whoever is chasing us. But as he sped toward the tracks, the car rattled. Jack felt a chilling realization: was it really just a chase, or was the darkness surrounding them far deeper than they could imagine? He glanced at Emily, her eyes wide with fear. Whatever. Secrets lingered in her past, they were catching up to them fast. As they made a sharp turn, Jack's phone buzzed with a notification. With a glance, he saw a message flash on the screen from an unknown number: "We know where you are. It's time for you to pay for what you've taken." Panic set in, but as the adrenaline surged, so too did an unshakable thought: the web was tightening around them. What had Emily uncovered that was worth such danger? They were in the heart of a mystery they hadn't yet begun to understand, and time was running out. The car surged ahead, Jack's knuckles white on the steering wheel. The headlights behind them loomed larger, casting shadows that danced dangerously close. Emily pressed her body lower in the back seat, her fear palpable. Jack could hear her labored breathing, a reminder of how fragile their situation truly was. Just keep driving, Jake. Don't look back. He urged, vision fixed on the road ahead. The streets of Crestview twisted and turned like a maze, familiar yet now drenched in a sinister tone. Every corner they rounded felt like a countdown to their demise. Where are the tracks? Jake shouted, struggling to keep his voice steady. Turn left at the old diner. Jack instructed, adrenaline racing through him. Memories flooded back of past escapades, laughter, late-night drives, a carefree existence. Now, everything felt tainted, stripped away by this unsettling reality. Jake maneuvered the car around the bend, tires squealing. The diner flickered in the distance, a ghost from happier times. But as they approached, Jack saw the unmistakable outline of another vehicle parked outside, unmarked, dark, waiting like a predator. His heart sank. No, 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 they're already there, what do we do? Emily's voice was barely above a whisper, trembling as Jack slowed down. Back up. We can't let them see us, Jack commanded, panic seizing him. As Jake threw the car in reverse, a loud bang echoed from the rear, and Emily gasped. What was that? Just keep moving. Jack urged, glancing back at the silhouette getting closer. It was all too clear now, they were outmatched. Jake slammed the gas pedal again, and they rocketed away, leaving the diner behind. We're stuck in this nightmare. Maybe we can lose them in the old valley. Jack shouted, unable to hide the tremor in his voice. If we take the back roads, they won't follow us. With Jake's nod of agreement, they veered off onto a narrow path flanked by dense trees, the headlights behind them now a distant memory. But the weight of their situation hung heavier than the creeping darkness around them. Emily, Jack said, trying to break the silence as they sped through, what else do we need to know about your father? About the documents? Emily turned, face illuminated by the fleeting streetlights. I don't know everything, but I found a safe. It was my father's. I never had the chance to open it. I thought it just held old papers, but if they're looking for it, she trailed off, her fear morphing into something harder, darker. What are you saying? Jake asked, voice cracked with apprehension. If they think I know where it is, they think I can lead them to it. Jack frowned, understanding dawning upon him. You might be the key to getting us all out of this. We need to find that safe. Emily's gaze met Jack's, her resolve firming. It's hidden beneath the floor in his old office. But we need to be careful, whoever is after us might already have eyes on that place. You really think your father's secrets are what we need? Jake murmured, turning the steering wheel sharply to avoid a pothole. What if it doesn't help us? What if it puts us in even more danger? Jack, we can't just run forever, Emily argued, her voice rising with urgency. If I can unlock the truth, maybe we can turn the tide. But we need to do it together. Together, Jack echoed, heart beating fast. Would that really be enough? As they reached the outskirts of the valley, Jack spotted the old office building silhouetted against the moonlight. His stomach churned. Would it be a sanctuary, or would it trap them deeper in this nightmare? Go slow, he instructed, scanning the surroundings, knowing they were still being hunted. As Jake eased the car to a stop, an icy chill ran through Jack. They were close now, but so were the dangers lurking in the shadows behind them. Are we really doing this? He asked, looking at Emily. Are you ready? I'm ready, she said, confidence in her voice. But we need to be smart. With their hearts pounding and a mystery to unearth, they stepped out into the darkness, a bittersweet mixture of fear and hope echoing in their minds. Little did they know, the real danger was not what hunted them, it was what they would uncover. As Jack crossed the threshold into the office, a sense of foreboding filled the air. The answers were waiting, but would they be worth the cost? In that moment, everything felt poised on a knife edge, and Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were not just searching for a safe. They were stepping into a web that might entangle them forever. The old office building loomed above them, its dark windows reflecting the razor-thin sliver of moonlight. Jack stepped inside first, the door creaking ominously as it swung open. The musty air hit him, thick with the dust of forgotten years. Jack's heart skipped a beat. This was it. This place held the answers they sought, or perhaps even more questions. Emily followed closely, her breath hitching as she took in the peeling wallpaper and scattered papers on the floor. It's just so different from what I remember, she murmured, keeping her voice down as if afraid to awaken ghosts of the past. Dad was always so alive, full of ideas, plans. Now it all feels dead. Let us focus, Jack said, keeping his voice steady. He could sense the weight of the moment pressing down on them. Where's the office? Back there, Emily pointed, her finger trembling slightly. Through that door. Jake stepped forward, glancing nervously over his shoulder. We need to be quick. They could still be following us. With a nod, they moved cautiously down the narrow hallway, Emily leading. Dust motes danced in the shafts of pale light spilling through gaps in the boarded windows. Memories flashed through her mind doing homework on the floor, laughter echoing in the hallways. But now it felt like the walls themselves were suffocating her. They reached the door to her father's office, a simple wooden barrier that seemed far less imposing than the truth it guarded. "This is it," she said, hands shaking slightly as she reached for the knob. "What if it's not what we think?" Jack placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Whatever's in there, we face it together. We've got each other. Remember that." Taking a deep breath, Emily pushed the door open. The office was dark, cluttered with old office supplies, and a desk that was barely visible under a mountain of papers. But Emily's eyes were drawn to the corner of the room, where an old carpet lay slightly askew. "That's it. The safe is under there," she said, her determination flaring up. They rushed over, and she knelt, pulling the carpet back to reveal a small, heavy-looking safe embedded in the floor. It was a stark contrast to the rest of the disarray, solid, built to withstand time. "Do you know the combination?" Jake asked, crouching beside her. Emily shook her head. "I never got that far. But I might know a clue." Jack's heart raced. "What do you mean?" "My dad used to mention a phrase, something about the past. It was his way of hinting at family home." She closed her eyes, remembering. "Home is where the heart is." Jack raised an eyebrow, the gears in his mind turning. That could mean something. Emily nodded, her resolve hardening. "If I just try kneeling in front of the safe," her fingers began to search the circular dial. They felt slick and cold beneath her touch but began to turn it cautiously, recalling every detail. Suddenly, Jack's phone buzzed violently in his pocket, making all three jump. He pulled it out and saw a text, "We know where you are. You can't hide forever." Fear snaked through him. "We've got to hurry." Emily's hands were trembling now, her focus swirling. "I can do this. I just need to focus." "Think about your dad," Jack urged. "How much he loved you. You're strong, Emily. You can do this." With newfound determination, she continued to turn the dial, her breath tightening as she felt the tension build. At that moment, a loud crash echoed from outside. Someone was approaching, boots pounding on the ground. The sound rattled the walls around them and sent terror coursing through Jack's veins. "They're here, we don't have much time." With one last desperate turn of the dial, a soft click resonated through the office. Emily's eyes widened. "I think it's open." Just then, the door burst open, the heavy thud echoing through the room as shadows spilled inside. Jack turned to see figures silhouetted in the doorway. "Hands where we can see them." One of them barked, a familiar voice cutting through Jack's fear. Jack's heart raced. They had no choice now. They had uncovered something, but would they have the chance to unravel it? Or would this be the end? At that moment, the door to her father's safe swung slowly open, revealing what lay within, but would they live long enough to find out the truth? The safe creaked open, revealing layers of documents and a dusty old notebook. The tension in the room was almost unbearable. Emily's fingers trembled as they brushed against the pages, a mixture of curiosity and dread flooding her heart. "Get it out," Jack urged, glancing nervously at the figures still looming in the doorway. The shadows shuffled, their impatience palpable, but all Emily could focus on was the notebook. It had belonged to her father, a connection to the man she had lost. She pulled it out, flipping it open to reveal scrawled handwriting that seemed alive in the dim light. "Wait, Emily," Jake hissed, his eyes darting to the intruders. "They're still here." But Emily was lost in the words. They spoke of plans, dreams, and a hidden path and escape. "He always had an escape route," she whispered, piecing together fragments of her father's voice that lingered in her memory. "He wanted us to be safe." Jack, growing frantic, grabbed her arm. "We can't read this now. We have to go." As if on cue, one of the figures took a step forward, revealing his ominous face, an expression of authority mixed with impatience. "Hands up. We're not here to ask nicely." Emily's heart raced, battling between terror and the desperate hope the notebook offered. "Wait, there is something here," she insisted, her voice shaking but resolute. "It could be important." "Important?" Jack's voice rose. "More important than your life." He glanced back at the doorway, the thuds of approaching footsteps echoing in his chest. "Just a moment," Emily pleaded, scanning the pages. Suddenly, her eyes fell on a passage that caught her breath. He was involved in something big. "There are names here, people he worked with." A loud crash interrupted her as one of the intruders slammed the door open wider, flooding the room with stark, cold light. "You're out of time," he shouted. "Emily, let it go," Jack urged, fear lacing his voice. But she couldn't. The urge to discover the truth was overpowering. As her fingers flipped through the pages, she uncovered a map tucked between the leaves, a place marked with a red X. This is where he wanted us to go." "Where?" Jake asked, leaning closer, his eyes flicking nervously back to the threat at the door. Emily's heart felt suspended in that moment. "I don't know, but it looks like a place outside the city." "Then we need to go now," Jack insisted, desperate urgency gripping him. "We'll come back for the rest." The figures were moving in, and just as Emily's mind raced to decipher the map's details, one of the intruders lunged forward, reaching for them. Adrenaline and instinct kicked in, and without thinking, Emily stuffed the notebook and map into her jacket. "Run!" Jack yelled, shoving Emily toward the back of the office. They dashed past the intruders, their hearts pounding, racing for the safety of the narrow hallway. As they fled, Emily felt the weight of her father's plans pressing against her chest, mixed with the overwhelming fear of being found. The words from the notebook echoed in her mind. There was something bigger at play, something her father had been protecting them from. Jeremy glanced behind them, his stomach dropping at the sight of the intruders shouting after them, the pounding footsteps close behind. "They're not going to stop. We'll find the truth," Emily gasped as they reached the end of the hallway. "I promise you that." Jack pushed the door open with all his might, spilling into the dark alley beyond. They were free, but the danger was far from over. Even as they ran into the night, a chilling realization struck Emily: they might now be in more danger than ever before. What had her father been involved in? And how could she uncover the truth without falling into the hands of those who would silence her for good? The moon hung low, casting long shadows as Jack, Emily, and Jake darted through the alleyways of Crestview, their hearts pounding in unison. Each step felt like a grand leap away from the darkness nipping at their heels. They had the notebook, the map, a potential lifeline laced with the echoes of a past that could change everything. Jack glanced over his shoulder, catching fleeting glimpses of the figures pursuing them. "We need to split up," he urged. "We can't let them catch all three of us." "No. We can't separate," Emily protested, a note of fear quivering in her voice. The night stretched before them like an endless path intertwined with uncertainty. "Stay close," Jake murmured, his body tense with urgency. "Jack's right, if they can't find all of us, we have a better chance of getting away." With that, they ducked into a narrow side street, the old world of Crestview collapsing into whispers behind them. The plan took shape in Jack's mind: find a safe place to regroup, study the notebook, and figure out their next move. "Let us head for the old library," Jack suggested, memories flooding back of whispered secrets shared in corners, a safe haven from the world. Emily nodded, trusting the instincts that had led them this far. They slipped into the shadows, hearts racing like wild horses. Once inside the library, Jack quickly barricaded the door with a nearby shelf, breaths heavy as the weight of their situation settled around them. The library was dimly lit, the only sound the shaking breaths escaping their lips and the quiet thumping of Jack's heart as he faced Emily. "We can't stay here long," Jake said, nervously glancing at the windows. If they're looking for us, they won't stop until they find us. What do we do? Emily asked, her eyes pleading for solutions. Jack reached into his jacket and pulled out the notebook, the smooth cover warm against his fingertips. We figure out what this means and we figure out where this, he tapped the map peeking from Emily's jacket, is leading us. Emily swallowed hard, energy rumbling in her veins. My father wanted to keep us safe. This isn't just about me anymore. It's about all of us. Jack nodded, feeling the weight of those words settle upon him. With the notebook open, Emily flipped through the pages, her fingers brushing over her father's neat handwriting. There are codes, names, locations. Look here. She exclaimed, landing upon a passage that made her heart race. He mentioned a safe house. A place away from all of this. Is it close? Jake leaned in closer, reading over her shoulder. She scanned quickly. I think it's not far. He refers to it as the compass. It's where he would go if things went wrong. Jack felt a rush of hope ignite inside him. Then that's our next move. Before he could formulate more thoughts, a loud crash echoed from the front of the library, sending shockwaves of panic racing through them. Go! Jack shouted, signaling their escape as they hurried through the back entrance, hearts racing with both fear and adrenaline. The night air swallowed them as they stepped back into the reality of Crestview's tangled shadows. They sprinted down the streets, Jack leading the way as they navigated toward the old factory rumored to be the compass. The urgency fueled them, each footfall a beat in their fight against time. There! Jake pointed, spotting the dilapidated structure silhouetted against the starlit sky. They dashed toward it, adrenaline pumping with every step. As they closed in, the sense of safety lingered like a mirage within reach, yet just out of grasp. Once inside, the vastness of the empty factory felt like a forgotten relic of a life that had once thrived. They paused, breathless. Jack looked around, determination flashing in his eyes. Check for any signs of a safe room. He called. Emily's heart raced as she searched the building, her mind racing through memories of her father. After a few desperate minutes, she spotted a doorway leading underground. This way! She urged, her pulse quickening. They descended into the dim light of the basement, the air thick with the scent of rust and neglect. It has to be down here, Emily urged, holding the notebook close. I know it. They reached a small area encased in shadows. Dust motes floated in the air like memories forgotten. As they scanned the room, Jake's finger grazed over a section of flooring that felt different beneath his touch. This one, he said, kneeling down to examine it. With a collective effort, they pried it open. Adrenaline surged as they uncovered a hidden compartment, revealing what looked like maintained files overflowing with documents, photographs, and a small lockbox. Is this it? Jack asked, heart pounding as he reached for the lockbox, feeling its cold surface against his skin. I think so, Emily said, anticipation mingled with fear. Can you get it open? As Jack fiddled with the lock and finally heard it click, the box creaked open. Inside lay sensitive documents tied to her father's legacy, financial statements, contracts, everything needed to expose the dark secrets entangling them. This is everything, Emily whispered, tears brimming in her eyes. The weight of her father's past felt tangible now, the truth vibrating beneath their outstretched hands. We have what we need to fight back, Jack declared, sensing the shift in their fates. The echoes of footsteps suddenly filled the air. Jake's eyes widened. They're coming. Hide! Jack ordered, frantically scanning the area. They dove behind crates just as figures stormed in. The tension hung thick in the air, silence gripping them. Find them! A gruff voice barked as they searched the room. Jack could feel Emily's heartbeat matching his own, rapid and wild. Time seemed to stand still as they waited, praying to avoid discovery. Their fate hung by a thread, and with every tense second, the realization became clearer. They were no longer running from the past, they were ready to reclaim it. In that moment of silence, Emily gripped Jack's hand tightly, reassuring him without words. The future was uncertain, but for the first time since her return, they were warriors in the same battle. Together. As the figures continued to scour the room for them, Jack's heart swelled with determination. He couldn't let fear cripple him or Emily. They would fight. They would win. Together, now it was time to face the truth. Ready? He whispered, emotions rising within him like a tide that couldn't be held back any longer. Let us do this, Emily replied, strength returning in her voice. When the moment came, they would emerge, ready to confront their past, protect their future, and expose the hidden darkness looming over Crestview. Together, they would unravel the web that sought to ensnare them, and together, they would find their way home. As Jack steeled himself for the confrontation to come, the door creaked open, light spilling into their hiding place. Now was the moment they had prepared for. Now they would show the world their truth.